I think we're live, so I'm just gonna go ahead. Welcome to Dijun Launch for another episode with our uh, great guests from Anados. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that.
You got it.
So welcome, guys. Welcome
Thanks.
to the stage.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to our we are powered by Carbium, which is also me and Matsiv from that team, and we are sponsored by Bitso on chain. So shout out to everyone, and thank you guys again for joining us today. This is, I think, so we are missing one person, and I'm gonna try to fill his shoes as best as I can. And I wanted to start it off with asking both of you guys. How many people how did you guys come up with basically Anados or Houdini swap? I'm just gonna be like a open question to everyone here, our guests. How did you guys come up with the idea? When did you start it? Like just a little bit of background of you guys or the team, the project itself, and yeah.
Houdini, if you want to go first, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. I hope you can hear me okay. Reporting live here from Toronto in Canada. We got a big World Cup match this afternoon, so excited for that. But yeah, no, really nice to be here. Houdini is we've been operational for 4 years now. We're still a pretty lean startup, but we've quietly become the market leader in private compliant transactions. So users have the ability to go to our front end application, houdiniswap.com, and basically swap Bitcoin to ETH, transfer SOL to SOL, USDT on Tron to USDC on Base, basically any asset on any chain, and really achieve and maintain sender and receiver anonymity. And we built this in a time where you could get privacy through a centralized exchange, and you could also get privacy through a decentralized solution like a Tornado or a Wasabi. And unfortunately, both of those types of products had their limitations, whether it's compliance, whether it's centralization, whether it's token availability. There was just a whole breadth of issues around these products. So we built Houdini Swap on the backbone of that, and really we just envision a future where crypto just cannot scale. Any financial system cannot scale without privacy, right? If I owe Peter $10,000, for dev hours, or we just go out for a dinner and I owe him money, I'm not looking to dox my entire financial data set to Peter the second that I send him money. So that's kind of the thesis. I think it's pretty easy to understand. To us, privacy isn't really like a niche or a narrative or a meta. It's really just a founding component of a transaction. No Web2 rail exists without privacy. So we're just we brought that to the masses in a way that we feel is easy to use, simplistic, and frictionless. So we're super thrilled about what we built and happy to share more.
Cool. I guess I'll jump on next. So funny here in Toronto. I'm in Montreal, so I'll give a little intro. So I'm relatively new in all things Solana, as far as partaking with the community. I went to the Solana Vibe Station in Montreal a couple of weeks ago. Met some tremendous people. So a little background on myself. I come from the entrepreneurial banking industry. I've worked at HSBC, CIBC, in accounts receivable, head of West Coast Canada. I've opened up 2 web design companies, had 2 successful exits. I got into crypto approximately end of 2019. Coming back from a little bit of more of a traditional entrepreneurial and financial standpoint, I fell on XRP and I was very interested. Obviously, with my luck, it was in the middle of when the case had gotten started. And then I went very deep into XRP, the whole XRPL ecosystem. I met my then we became friends, Panos. And we became such good friends and saw that we saw everything on the same kind of level that we decided to partner up. And in 2023, we launched Anados. And Anados Labs basically is we're building a self-custodial super financial app. It is pretty much the easiest way to say it. We believe that the future is multi-chain, 100%. We believe that all the crypto jargon, all the crypto complexities are locking out all non-crypto natives. No one wants to do 17 clicks to get something done that they would get done in Web 2 in 1 click. They don't want to learn new terminology. So instead of saying something like, for example, onboarding, we say sign up. Instead of on-ramping and off-ramping, we say withdraw and deposit. So our whole goal here was to offer as many decentralized financial applications, services, and tools to the general public under one hood in one app. And then we saw that Solana had like a lot of tremendous opportunities, projects, services, products in general that we could use. So we decided to expand over to Solana, and this was another reason. So I originally thought this was going to be a spaces where I was going to be just going back and forth with questions. I didn't realize it was going to be a little bit more oriented, so I didn't get a chance.
Oh, we will. Don't worry about it, Peter. We will.
I'm just saying. I'm like
this is just a warm-up.
I'm not the best person for like the dev.
Peter,
stuff.
we gotta let you lay out the ground, Peter.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. I'm highly interested, and I align with you in a lot of things. So yeah, we're not just listening. We're ready.
Yeah, okay, cool. So
we did our research.
That's basically. I mean, we
built. Just wanted,
we built the Anno on the XRPL. So I mean, it's the best user interface on the XRPL. Anybody who tries it will say so. It's not me being egotistical when I say that. And we also had partnered up with Palisade, which a year later Ripple winded up acquiring. But we got them to be the first. We integrated with them to be the first passkeys wallet. So people were able to set up with their biometrics an XRPL wallet within 10 seconds. We actually clocked it at 10.3 seconds. We had a competition, and the average non-crypto native getting into any kind of blockchain takes 10 to 15 minutes to do a wallet. So our mentality is there. It's like Linux all over again. People argue that Linux is like the best operating system, but you know what? Steve Jobs made Apple cool. Bill Gates made the Microsoft easy, and those are the two things that took off. And now, the average person doesn't know Linux, doesn't know about this type of operating system. So we're kind of in the same mentality, saying you could have all the coolest things out there, but if you're going to bridge and sidechain and use gas fees and wallets, like make things overly complicated, you're locking out everybody. So that's
you're going to lose a lot of people during that process. That's for sure. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've checked. Obviously, I did some research. Both of our guests, because otherwise, what are we doing here? So I wanted to just at first give you guys the introduction and give what you guys are giving to the users and just the basic introduction basically. So I wanted to go ahead with asking a question to you first, Anados, and then I'll switch it back to Uniswap. What I wanted to ask, I've seen, I checked the app, and I think you guys started with XRP, but now it's gonna be. I've seen the DEX as well.
We're building the actual app, the super app on Solana, but we're not leaving behind anything that we've done on the XRPL. I mean, we're just expanding. We feel that at the end of the day, there's too much tribalism going on. There's too much maximalism going on. Like, I have this computer I'm using right now is an HP. I have a tablet that's an iPad. I drive an Acura. I use Samsung. I use all kinds of different technology and different brands. Everything for whatever's best suited for me. And I think that's the everyday person. So as Anados, we feel like the same way. If, for example, we're going to use Jupiter or LeFi or whoever else that we'll partner up with to offer something like online stocks or whatever it might be, well, if Solana is the best place to be for that, then that's where it'll be. If the best place to be on some other aspect is on another chain, we'll be there as well. The end user doesn't need to know that though. The end user just wants to open up their app, click, and get whatever they want done with one click, and that's it.
Exactly. I don't need to know the details of the engine that powers my car. Honestly, exactly. And like most of the users and most of the average user, which is the metrics-wise, the majority of the people that are using crypto, they're not gonna care about the infrastructure beneath it. They're just gonna care about the experience. And basically, that's how I wanna tie it down, because I think in Uniswap, it's from my perspective, I really value privacy when it comes to like not just doing transactions, but as we can see on crypto, like there are a lot of people that you might leak some information, and that information goes to someone else, and that can have like in real life aspects, and like in real life negative scenarios that can happen to you. So I wanted to ask about like, when did you guys ever pivot it, by the way, Swap? And like, when did you guys started to do this across chains? So, because usually I've seen a lot of attempts that was like being done on Solana specifically, but when I was checking about you guys, actually I did my first swap a couple days ago within Soulflare, so that's how I got to know the
hell yeah, man.
Yeah. I use the
Good.
stand section as well, so that's why I was like a bit familiar. But today I was checking the website and I saw like you guys can do it like with any chain, any swap. So I wanted to like, was this like a user request, or how long did it take? How was the experience when you guys were building it?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I look, I got to agree and side with my Canadian cohort Peter here on the call. Like, we for us to achieve mass adoption and scale, we wanted to create privacy for everyone, right? So it doesn't matter what asset you subscribe to, it doesn't matter what wallet you subscribe to, it doesn't matter what archetype you subscribe to, rich, poor, individual, business owner. Privacy to us is a fundamental right. It's a fundamental freedom. I think we've all felt you're chatting with a friend about going to Europe over the summer, and you open up a social media application and you're spammed with flights to Italy or Spain or something like that, right? And so like we don't want to lose financial sovereignty, and that's what happens at every single transaction that's occurring in crypto. So at least at the very least, we just want to give the users the option, right? Like that's kind of the dream. We're not trying to force privacy down anyone's throats. It's more just giving them the optionality around that. But yeah, like to go back to the thesis around the multi-chain, is that we did a lot of research on Proton Mail and Gmail, right? And that was kind of the case study that we were following. And we're like, how the hell did these guys convert 100 million users from Gmail to Proton Mail? And really, they made the experience frictionless. I mean, it's we can argue and debate that all day long, but they included.
They made it more than frictionless. They made it more than frictionless.
Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. Like I have my feuds with them, but really, they didn't make it. To bring this back to crypto, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, with privacy in crypto is chain-centric privacy or wallet-centric privacy or asset-centric privacy, right? And to me, that's just there's so many complexities with that, right? And I'll give you a real life example. We use Houdini private transfers and private swaps for something like payroll, right? So if I have a development team out of Romania that prefers to receive USDT on Tron because that's the easiest, banking relationship, USDT on Tron to local currency, that's the cheapest, most reliable, most effective, then me having, privacy for just, SVM assets does nothing for them, right? So when you look at the actual application of privacy for something like a payroll or payments, you really need to be chain agnostic, and maybe maybe my co-founder, maybe this or that want to receive USDC on Sol, so like that's fine, like perfect, so be it, right? But we just wanted to give people that optionality, and we studied Proton Mail to try and make it as seamless and frictionless as possible, so that somebody's not jumping through a million hoops to get to privacy. And just because it's too nascent of an industry to compete with things like perps and prediction markets and meme coins, which capture a lot of the awareness. Privacy is kind of just like, okay, like it's a nice to have, but it's not, there's no 100x 1000x P&L cards that we're shilling on crypto Twitter.
It's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, and it's the least sexy.
Exactly.
I couldn't have said better. Yeah.
So well said. And it keep in mind, guys, like it also just takes time, right? Like privacy plus crypto you immediately get, labeled as money launderers or terrorist financiers, or, basically a site for criminal or illicit activity. But I think the same could be said about almost any disruptive application that has really gone, parabolic. I'm talking like, and it doesn't need to be just crypto, right? Like it can be Airbnbs, it can be Ubers. Imagine how taboo it would have been 20 years ago if we were on this call talking about getting in a complete stranger's vehicle to take you from A to B that wasn't a taxi cab licensed driver, right? You'd be like, no chance in hell. Or, Airbnb, get into a complete stranger's home, right? Like these things are just taboo and sketchy and weird and uncomfortable until they're not, right? Like until they're not. And the same thing with Hyperliquid and Polymarket, right? Like Hyperliquid, insider trading, and should we democratize access to these stocks or these assets and let people trade with leverage? And now it's just like, they're talking about it on the New York Post. And so these things they take time, and they take, telling the story a million times, but it becomes like, whoa, guys, like chill out, sketchy privacy, to just like, why the hell was I not, like, that's every day now, mainstream. So we're waiting for that moment, and it's coming. We did a couple billion in volume last year, so we're on the right path for sure. But
good for you.
But it's nominal compared to
I want to piggyback a little bit on that. So first of all, I find it hilarious that you bring up Uber and Airbnb. I think if you see any of my previous videos, I mention it all the time. If you hear any recorded space I'm in, I mention those two specifically all the time. So that's for me. I was just listening to myself talk. So that's amazing. I think we just became best friends, Aaron. We're on different parts of the same pie, right? Seeing things the same way. So that's amazing. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to offer you something where you could save, because the money laundering thing is something a lot of people would come to me as well and say, and they can't use that premise when you nail them with, what about the banks? Look at the banks over the last 5 years. Do a cursory search up on anything you want. TD, Canadian Bank, 2 years ago, paid some of the largest fines ever for money laundering and malpractice and all that sort of thing. So the banking industry isn't immune. There's bad actors in everything. What I see personally is, I'm a little bit older, right? I'm 48 years old. I've used the rotary phones, okay? Like I grew up with rotary phones, dial-up internet, and the whole 9 yards. So I saw the transition. And looking at Web3, we're exactly at the same stage we were when the internet came out and people were talking about buying domain names and hoarding domain names because they were going to go, 20x, 30x. They were going to sell McDonald's.ca to McDonald's and make a fortune, and all these different ideas. And now we're looking at meme tokens, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and whatever else might come out. And it's like looking at email servers, browsers, and other basic things of the internet, instead of looking at e-commerce, instead of looking at security, instead of looking at, what else can you do, payment processing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like we're not looking as a whole, and I'm talking about all the chains, the entire ecosystem is not really looking as a whole, how to bring something to market in a traditional business sense to say, here's a product you could use, and who cares what it's running on? It makes your life this much better, this much easier, saving this much money. This is the shift I believe that we have to get to as an entire space. We've got to leave the last of the geeks and say, okay, let's talk business and bring things to people on a regular level. That's when we'll start getting mass adoption. Because when you start using something, just as a little footnote, if you think about how email started to get mass used, it wasn't because anyone came up and said, hey, are you tired of snail mail and you could use this thing instead? That's not how it took off. It took off because small to medium-sized businesses were issuing emails to their employees and telling them this is how we're going to communicate and this is how we're going to be sending out messages. And then they realized, slowly, people realized, hey, you know what? I could use an email, and I'll use my own personal private email, not my work email, and I'll send, the family vacation pictures to somebody, 100,000 miles away or whatever the case may be. That's how it started to get developed. The everyday working person was using it and then translating it. Nobody was writing grandma's recipes on Excel or on Word until they started to get very familiar with it from work. So the same thing kind of has to happen, in my opinion anyways, is we've got to be able to have tools and services that the everyday person could use, the small business owner could use, save time, get rid of complexities, not add complexities. But we got to be able to solve real problems. When you sit down with a business owner and you say, what are some of the biggest problems you have? They're going to tell you they have no time. They're wearing too many hats. They're spending too much money. And they're swamped. There's a lot of things on blockchain that could solve their issues. And they would fall in love with it. And then they would ask the question, well, what else can blockchain do? That's where we need to get to. There's over 400 million people, guys, between ages 25 and 55 around the world. This is a real stat. I took weeks going through all the information to try and boil it down. Approximately 400 million people, 25 to 55, who have expressed a clear interest in getting on board and getting some kind of exposure and understanding blockchain, but they find it way too complicated. That's immense failure.
So I'm gonna jump in because I want to make this a little bit more technical because we got a lot of OGs here, an IRC guy who used to troll in Undernet and in Dalnet, and then we have on the other side the guy who makes the magic happen, Houdini, right? So I have a few questions. I'm gonna try to keep it technical. I don't care about ethics in this element. We're building, so whoever does intent, they have to deal with the law. They have to deal with their countries. Here we have Montreal, the French corner of Canada. Actually, I've been in Mont-Tremblant myself, so I've been there. And the other side we have Toronto, right, Houdini?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So I used to live 7 years in upstate New York, in Buffalo, so I know you guys very, very well, the Toronto corner. So let's go into the building. So I have a few questions about Houdini because me as in Carbon, we have developed like this aggregation. And at the same time, we have to create all these quotes and service all our trades for the clients. And it comes to a situation, as you stated very, very well, that market makers and certain, actors as centralized exchange, as you say, wealth fund managers, XYZ, people try to keep track of their wallets and making their lives a little bit less privacy intent, right? We were supposed to have that with public keys, but that didn't go well because now everybody's tracking every public key. So it becomes a little bit of a no-show. Plus, at the same time, there is no fund moving from fiat to blockchain that doesn't go through a KYC element, which means there will be a human being in the middle, right, that can leak your public key. That's why I think privacy comes in very, very handy. So for privacy, we also saw the issue with Zcash, right? Because this is also privacy an issue. So that privacy also can mask issues. For me, like example, I'm developing a protocol, and sometimes a privacy element can make me not detect like an issue, or I would say allow a masking of a framework within a framework. So from the Houdini standpoint, how are you guys going to mitigate that? Because you will have pressure, you will have, institutions, and nonetheless, as much as blockchain as you want to be, you're still a human being, right? And the Canadian police will just walk to your house, grab you by your hand, and get things sorted, right? So how are you guys going to plan on mitigating whenever something really happens and the finger gets pointed at you guys, like it happened before in Tornado Cash and many others? How are you guys going to be mitigating that from a development standpoint? That will be kind of my big question about Houdini right now.
Yeah, it's such a good question, man. I appreciate you bringing it up. So to us, building a privacy platform, exchange, swap, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it a privacy front end consumer application. Yep. There's I hate to go back to like old, ETH roots, just, given the price action, but there's a trilemma that exists, with building a privacy project. Okay. And so you get 2 out of the 3 things to be absolutely bulletproof. Okay. And the components are the privacy tech, compliance, and then execution, which is price, speed, and user experience. Okay. So those are the 3 buckets. And, those buckets will, the value of those buckets will change depending on who the stakeholder is. Okay. So as business owners, as operators of this platform, we chose privacy and compliance to put 100% bulletproof, structure in, right? So nobody has ever or will ever be able to trace a Houdini swap transaction. We used to, publicly host $100,000 plus trace a transaction competitions with top crypto devs and sleuths. And, it used to be an incredible marketing strategy for us. Nobody was able to guess destination chain, let alone the receiving hash. So privacy is bulletproof. The second thing that's bulletproof is compliance. So the way that we built the tech ensures that we're able to I shouldn't say bulletproof, because we're not pioneers or engineers in the compliance field.
No, because in the end, the internet service provider can track the IP that went to your endpoint that was triggered for that key in order to enact, and they can do some backtrace that, because it's physics, right? At the end, it's a voltage, right? You don't get a signal, you don't get a text in any endpoint, in any interface or any signal acquisition card or whatever, without having a voltage, right? So that voltage does have a backtrace.
Exactly.
Now, my question for you is, from a technical standpoint, what makes your privacy on, like, so that, let's say, as again, I am a special force from, I'm Canada, right? And I want to break down on you, right?
Yeah.
You know how NordVPN handled by using the RAM element, right? How do you guys handle the fact that that you don't get compromised, you as Houdini, right? Because, okay, you can do all the masking you want. You can even do that with a Cloudflare key manager, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
But there has to be, like, how does technically Houdini covers themselves towards that aspect? Like, just putting you a guideline, like as in NordVPN, they use RAM.
Yeah. So like it's not just a silver bullet answer, right? It's the way that the private router is architectured. Okay. So let's just go through an example. Okay. If I Aaron have Solana and Peter wants to receive ETH and we want to, I want to send him a private transaction, right? A private swap. Basically what's happening is Aaron is depositing or sending a transfer of SOL out to a custom burner deposit wallet address that is provided by our underlying LPs, which is like a Changely or a ChangeNow or a Simple Swap, right? So there is some semi-centralization risk that the user faces, but that also enables us to scan Aaron's wallet in real time for any sort of AML or ATF, illicit activity, right? So
compliance, that's into the regulatory part,
So it goes to exchange one, which can be Changely. It then gets swapped into an intermediary token. So it goes sold to, let's say, Litecoin or TRX or
however you guys is convenient. Yep, to mask it around.
To another exchange, and then off to Peter's recipient wallet address. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question directly, if law enforcement was looking for the source of funds, or if they were involved in an ongoing investigation, we would be able to assist or effectively it'd be a very, very difficult process. We'd need a lot of inputs. We need IPs, we need amounts, we need times of these assets, and we need both sending and receiving wallet addresses. But we could effectively stitch back a transaction hash that was involved in an ongoing criminal investigation. For everything else, we do not store any transactions on our servers. They are deleted after 72 hours or immediately after the user wants to. There's literally a delete this transaction function.
And it makes sense because you got to support them, right? Let's say I make a transaction to Peter, right? I want to send Peter $1 million, right? And I sent it, but hey, I think I put the private key, the public key wrong, or I used the wrong network, because you probably have to deal with a lot of tickets because of that, right? That people send it to the wrong chain and they didn't know it was this chain, etc. That's why you probably need a little bit of a backtrace in a sense. Now that we went through that, I have another question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I am a developer. I'm a startup. I want you to give this startup, this is a startup that will be involved, as you said, in payroll, will be involved in making high trades for their, let's say I'm a private home office, like wealth manager, right?
Yeah.
And I got to do payroll. I got to receive money from Peter, who just made $20 million, and he wants to invest it in whatever, in USDT, but he doesn't want to have a trace between his Canadian framework and that, right? All these hypotheticals, right? To make sure Peter is not put in the spotlight here. That being said, give me at least like 3 development easy mode. I already went through documentation, which is pretty intuitive, but maybe you want to speak a little bit about that and kind of give us how can we get in from a builder standpoint? Because we want to make sure that, we inspire other builders to use your protocol, not to just go and swap and try to hide transaction, but if they're building something that they can consider privacy, and how would that be easy for them to onboard, guide them to the API keys, however you want.
Yeah.
And I'm going for Peter.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, sorry. I don't know if that was a question for Peter. I can't.
No. I said that, and then like afterwards, we're gonna start talking about because I want to combine the privacy
Yeah.
with what Peter is developing, because it's very, very key, that simplification, that humanification, that nerdiness out of the table. So it was just a little bit of an overtime.
When you're done answering, Aaron, I have a follow-up question as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, 100%, guys. Like all really good questions. Okay, so just first little note to make, okay, is that we are not a privacy protocol, okay? So we are an aggregator of non-custodial centralized exchanges. And the reason that we did that is because when you interact with a smart contract, a privacy protocol, it's basically, think about it how it looks from an on-chain perspective. Peter just deposited assets from wallet A into shielded pool B, right? Which kind of defeats the purpose of privacy altogether. It's kind of like alerting signal to the entire world that I just entered the strip club. And yes, all the things that happen within this, all the things that happen in the strip club are private, no cameras, no phones. But then you know, it's like having 100,000 of your friends and family outside of the strip club, waiting for you to leave, and also watching you as you go in. So
yeah, they already know that you went.
Yeah, so that's why. So there is no way to like there is no such thing as like tagging a Houdini swap transaction on chain. That's just not an accurate statement. Okay, so moving on. On the API side, you can literally just go to our front end, Houdini Swap, like app.houdiniswap.com or just houdiniswap.com. And there's a builder tab right there. And literally, we've tried to make this developer experience as seamless as possible. We have test keys that are pretty heavily rate limited. But again, you can just contact myself. There's an actual link to my TG, and we can get you upgraded with increased rate limits if you're actually building something meaningful and legit, and we'll support you. But yeah, like we've really tried to, we've really looked at like LeFi is kind of like the B2B kind of SDK that's perfect. And we're just offering that, with like, we have everything LeFi has, plus, this entire private mode. So
devs listening to this, take advantage, because they're not fancy enough. So this is the time to get your key upgrades. Then they're going to be fancy and hard to reach. So take his word, start emailing, get him into the Telegram. This is the time. I wanted to say that for the builders.
Yeah, it's super, super easy. I people are smart on this call. They can find our dev docs and implementation docs in minutes. So yeah.
So Peter had a question for you. Go ahead, Peter.
So I have a question. So are you at all familiar with our project? I mean, did you get a chance to take a look at us at all, or no?
I looked at your Twitter. I haven't used the application.
Oh yeah, the application's not ready. We're actually building it now.
Okay.
We're currently in a raise actually with Republic, which was a nightmare to even get on. If anybody knows, raising on Republic is less than 5% of applicants get approved. So we were very proud about that. We're in the middle of the raise just so we could finish building this app. My question to you is this. So now I want you to imagine the way we have the functionality planned out to be is basically like any other banking app. No one's going to see anything about any kind of crypto or any kind of blockchain jargon or anything whatsoever. Virtual IBANs are going to be involved. Virtual ACH is going to be involved. People will be able to select whatever they want to invest in, one-click investing, whether they're, virtual CDs basically, so yield, whether they're T-bonds, whatever it might be. So your entire setup here is actually very, very interesting. And what I'm wondering is, in this type of app, what's the full stack of products that you could offer through APIs for a company like ours, besides the actual just obvious?
Yeah. Another incredible question, man. So we, it's like, who do we want to be when we grow up, right? It's kind of like Stripe, right? So we cover deposits, right? So if I have my Hyperliquid account or my corporate wallet and I want to start degenning on your application, or I want to, engage in your ecosystem, right? So that's the deposit function. There's also, me leaving or like sending, remittance, or I made a bunch of money on your application. I want to send it to my friends as a wedding gift, whatever the hell it is. There's deposits, withdrawals. That's one. There's the actual swap widget itself, which is also the same underlying architecture as transfers. So again, like those things can work in application. And then there's other really cool features that we have too, which is things like Houdini Pay. The issue, like since the genesis of our product, has been, to go back to that dinner example of like, I owe you money for dinner, Peter. The problem with that is that if I want to send you money as the sender, as Aaron, I get the privacy, right? I can Houdini the money to you and maintain anonymity. You get screwed over though, because you have to send me a receiving wallet for it to go to. So I can snoop into that wallet, be like, oh, Peter's a billionaire, right? I know he's in Montreal now. I'm going to go find him. Okay. So what we did is we created Houdini Pay, which conceals your wallet address. So you never have to create a million accounts, new wallets, or ever deal with that OPSEC nightmare, which is doxing your wallet to counterparties. And it effectively just acts as like a Zelle or a Venmo or an Interact, where your destination wallet is concealed throughout the entire journey. So me as the payee can give you can achieve privacy, and then the payer, and then you as the invoicer or the recipient of the payment can also get the privacy. And these things work really, really well for peer-to-peer transactions, obviously. But I would start with, in terms of where we have our API, like Solflare is obviously our biggest one, and they leverage us for in-wallet transfers, so private send functionality. But really, like send, swap, bridge, receive, deposit, withdrawal. I know you want to abstract all that away, which I'm sure you could and should. But yeah, it really depends. If everything's going to be non-custodial by nature, then yeah, definitely a swap.
Everything is completely non-custodial on our end, completely. Yeah, 100% DeFi all the way. One small follow-up question on that. So, where would you say, because from the past couple of years of talking with so many different developers and different chains and all this stuff, it seems like no matter how DeFi you want to go and how non-custodial you want to go, when you start using different APIs and different partnerships, it seems like sometimes there's a little funnel of like a temporary centralized docking port, like even if it's for a few seconds. Do you have any of that throughout this type of functionality? I don't know if that made sense the way I said it, but I think you get it.
Yeah. The only risk, like, there's risks to everything, right? Like even if it is fully decentralized, right, you onboard a whole host of attack vectors, right? Absolutely. From a security perspective. So look, I'm not here to say that we're fully decentralized, right? The user, when I'm sending you, Peter, when I'm sending you that money, I am sending money from Aaron's wallet to a burner wallet that is provided by one of our exchange partners, right? So they are custodying that asset at the API level throughout the journey of the transaction.
Right.
So you do take on, let's call it like 2 to 4 minutes of centralization risk, right. But it's session level risk, right? So the maximum amount that Houdini could ever be attacked for, or like quote unquote like exploited for, is equal to the amount that Aaron is sending to Peter at any given transaction. And that's never happened to us in 4 years, which we're proud of. But for the DeFi maxis that are going to be like, this isn't pure like on-chain ZK tech, like you're right, it's not. But like we could have skinned a Tornado 2.0, but we know what happens when you go down that route, right? So yes, those people FUD, but at the same time, like there's also 50,000 users that come to us every month that like adore our products. So it is what it is,
No, I like it. I like your product.
There's no perfect solution. Everyone is chasing perfect solutions, and I agree that if it's a couple of minutes, it's a negligible risk, for the most part. But I'm very interested to have a conversation with our CTO and yourself, and my CEO as well. I'd definitely like to set up a call together, because I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and I think there's a lot of synergy here. A lot.
Yeah, awesome, man. That'd be sick. Yeah.
I wanted to jump in here because previously when we were like doing this just spaces with Dijon Lounge, now we're Builders Lounge. But what I wanted to say, previous episodes, we had a bunch of guests that like collaborated with each other, but this was, I think, the first time that I was gonna steer the conversation there, but you guys didn't give me any chance to steer the conversation there because it made so much sense. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna mention this, but then Peter just asked one question, and then you guys are already, because this makes a lot of sense. If you're doing a universal front end for a crypto,
I'm not the CSO for nothing, brother. I'm not the CSO for nothing. This is it. I'm
jumping on Peter. I'm waiting for my intro for Peter. Peter, I'm coming for you, Peter. I want to talk to you.
Go.
Halo, dude, it's okay, Halo.
Yeah. I had something for Peter as well, but I was going to say, like, okay, so from my understanding, this is gonna be basically that's also how I viewed crypto in my views are aligned perfectly like since a couple of years that like I do believe that like users doesn't have to know much, they just have to use it, and you just have to get them there to use it as easy as possible. That's on the pocket, sure. But when it comes to the builder side, is there any aspect of the universal front end that you guys are trying to do Anados? Is there any part that builders can build on top of it, or maybe utilize it on a different way in their own applications?
Okay, so that's a amazing question. It's actually something that we're planning in the pipeline. It's not for the right now. For the right now, what the biggest problem that we're facing is trying to bring fire, the Promethean fire, to cavemen, and they don't understand what it is, right? So for us, it's a matter of first, let's get the app out there where people could actually compare it to their banking app and not have any discussions at all whatsoever about crypto. They'll just have, let's say, a column, for example, they'll say Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, XRP, whatever, and they could just click and say, okay, I'll just transfer over my money there. We also want to have an agentic AI financial advisor that understands what your risk tolerance are, what type of investing you want to do, that they could rebalance for you. There's a wide variety of things we want to do, but the API side of it to be able to allow others to do it is definitely on the pipeline. It's just first we got to finish up the app. I mean, we don't get ahead of ourselves, right? But it's definitely something we want to do, 100%.
Yeah, makes sense. You guys, like from what I understand, you guys are basically trying to upgrade my, let's say, Paribas digital banking app to something that's just better and simpler. And I'm not gonna even have any idea how it has related to crypto or anything.
Let me say it as plainly as this. So here, for example, in Canada, we have some, regular banks like TD, Royal Bank. In the States, you have, JP Morgan, etc. Every country has its own banks, right? And imagine now that banking app is, first of all, decentralized, self-custodial, that we can't even touch, that you're in complete control. You have a Visa debit card directly to your wallet. Whether it's draining, let's say you spent all your money and then you have only your assets, it's going to ask you, do you want to spend some of the gold you have so you could tap, so it could go through, whatever it is. Everything funneled in to this debit card where you're able to spend a Visa debit card, which we're going to have as well. And at the same time, the average user is able to say when they're talking with their friends having a coffee, because this is usually what happens, right? You're sitting around, people start talking about investments, start talking about crypto, they start talking about NFTs, whatever it is. They'll be able to go into their app and say, oh yeah, here, let me just buy some Bitcoin, click, bought. This kind of stupid-proof, grandma-proof, easy experience is what we're looking to bring. Now, once you have a wide variety of people that know nothing about blockchain, that are able to get skin in the game, they're able to do all kinds of different things, well, now you could start introducing more and more products to them, hiding everything under the hood without needing to explain anything to them. So that's basically what we're looking to do. From that, you could expand to small businesses, small business features, APIs for other projects. We know that as soon as we come out with this, probably within 6 months, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be building this type of thing, because technically it's not a neobank. Like I even hate being compared to a neobank. All the neobanks out there that I've seen are all centralized. None of them are decentralized. They're just regular banking with a cryptocurrency wrapper over them or a blockchain wrapper over them. And it's the same bullshit all over the place. So for us, it's a matter of making it as easy as possible, relatable. You don't have to teach anything. If you don't have to teach anything to the people, they're going to be able to use it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm gonna pass the ball to Matsu because I think he has some stuff too. But yeah, neobank, Mark. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So basically, Peter is not giving us API. That's the news for the builders. We don't get the goodies right away.
Not yet.
But now, Peter, you're going to have to share with us, what are the users going to expect when it comes to the relationship between a blockchain wallet, right, and an IBAN? Because as an XRP maxi that you used to be probably when you guys started, or as you mentioned, you have been in a relationship with XRP, which I know the XRP drama since it started, right? I've been around since 2010, 2011. So I know the music, and I like that you're here, because XRP has been doing something that nobody did for the first 5, 6, 7 years, right? Which is remove that blockchain nerdiness crap and go to the banks and talk to people who really move the money, not to the spammers and people who just pretend to be billionaires by putting an X post, right? I mean, people who really move wealth, billions and trillions of dollars every year. That's where the focus is, in a sense. My question to you is, give me that. Give me the bridge between a public key and my bank account. I know you guys have I assume you're going to have like, oh, that I can deposit and use my debit card, right? I would assume that's a path. But I want to know more about between, let's say, take me from a public key, right? I'm a wallet in Solana, right? And I open an account with you, and I want to send 10,000 USDC to my account in your framework.
You're gonna have
Tell me how we flow to the bank, how I end in the bank.
You're gonna have a virtual account. You're gonna have either a virtual ACH or a virtual IBAN, so you'll be able to transfer transfer anything else. Whether you need a transit number, accounting number, banking number, a branch number, you'll have all that stuff.
Love it. Yeah. So the IBAN that you're gonna be providing, it will be under the name of the user, right?
Correct.
Awesome, perfect. For those who know, from a builder standpoint, that basically reduces your AML friction highly incredible, right? So pay attention to what Anodos has, because it can serve a lot of needs. I'm gonna leave it there.
Basically, we're calling it the last banking app you're ever gonna need.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't going to be a need for anything else, because even friends of mine who are still in banking, they've asked me the question, well, what about a CD? And I'm like, well, a CD, if you think about it, you have to close your money for a certain amount of time. This is what hurts a lot of people. And then if they do need their money, they have to break the CD. They lose any interest that they were going to be making. They pay some penalties, and they feel like a loser walking out of the bank like, okay, I had to break my CD. Where if you're doing it this way, you're having yield online, you could just take out what you need. The rest of the balance is still earning. So the everyday non-crypto native is going to be mind blown just even seeing something like that.
Yeah, because they're going to realize that fiat can be more flexible and more attractive than certain elements that we always dreamt about the blockchain, that we can already start migrating and making the fusion, because it's about time.
Yeah, and when you take the things like Camino and Jupiter, what they're offering and putting on the table, I mean, LeFi as well, we got very excited. LeFi actually had reached out to us, and we were like, okay, yeah, amazing, because we were looking into them. And this space is moving so fast, where it's like everyone's developing and coming out with something where it's just leaving the entire traditional banking system in the dust. It's in the dust.
Oh, yes. Well, I guess, Halo, you can wrap up any key question that you have so that we don't overextend.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I just, what I wanted to ask both of you guys is basically, but like, I know Aaron has been on Solana for a while, I think, but Peter, you guys just came over and on the integration phase. So I wanted to ask, like, what was your experience so far when it comes to either it's like the relationship with the developer ecosystem on Solana, or like how do you think that compares to, like, let's say XRP, because that was the place that you guys were like super active from what I see, or anywhere else? Because I'm trying to get to like let our users know that, like, even if they're watching from like another network or like Solana, whatever, like this is in itself, and it's like in its skeleton, it's a builder's place. Crypto is a builder's place. So regardless of what chain you are, you have that spirit in you that, like, okay, you're a builder. So I wanted to get your perspective on, like,
sure,
what do you think, and like just basically your overall views on that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just address the elephant in the room. Number one, we didn't leave XRPL, which a lot of people have been worried that, like, on the XRPL ecosystem that we left. We didn't leave, right? But the thing is, different use cases, different suppliers, different everything is what matters when you're looking to expand and to grow. And the things that are available, first of all, the liquidity on Sol is like on Solana is like unmatched. It has the most action as a chain, most active developers creating like incredible stuff for multiple different use cases. The XRPL is still focused pretty much on on its core, right? I mean, it's intermittence, it's international payments, it's institutional use. Ripple is focusing on institutional partnerships, which is great. You need institutional partnerships, but we're looking at the retail. We're looking at the everyday person. What is it they want? They're going to get excited about, being able to trade stocks 24/7. I was invited. Well, Anodos was invited to the Ripple Swell event in New York last October. I went because I'm in Montreal, and the rest of the team is in Greece. So I went there. I spoke with people from JP Morgan. I spoke with people from all kinds of different banks. The chairwoman of NASDAQ was there. The CEO of BlackRock was there. And everyone was saying the same thing. Everything is moving on chain. So we all know this. But right now, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most of the team, if not all the team on Anodos, is Solana has so much more action and offering so many more developer tools, so many more products and services, so many financial options to plug in with. Like, you can't do 24/7 trading of stock right now on XRPL, and you're not going to be able to for a while. There's a lot of things you're not going to be able to do on the XRPL. So for us, it was a matter of expanding and saying, okay, let's increase the menu. You're not going to walk into a place and say, we only have hamburgers, right? You have hamburgers, salad, fries, you have a bunch of different stuff. So Solana offers a lot of different things. Now, as far as the experience, listen, the Solana Foundation has been amazing. We've also received a non-equity grant from them. Everything moved very quickly. Everything's been moving very, very fast with them. And in general, the environment has been very welcoming. I went to the Montreal Vibe Station a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't know anybody in there. I just showed up, my briefcase, my laptop, and spoke with everybody. Everybody was very welcoming, which I find is pretty much the case all across blockchain, right? But specifically with Solana, this was a good experience, and we're very excited to keep growing and take advantage of any other chain as well. I mean, whoever has something that we can use, we are not maxis. I've never been an XRPL maxi ever. I loved XRP as a token. I still hold it. I think it's amazing. That's my own personal view. But I'm not here for tokens. I'm not here for memes. I'm not here for NFTs. I'm here for actual real use case to be able to bring to the market for people who don't want to know anything about blockchain and who want to take advantage of the power of blockchain. And that's it. For me, that's the bottom line.
So I want to add something here in my defense, because I think, Peter, just so you know, I wanted to state that XRP is a maxi when it comes to disrupting the banks, right? Not stating that your framework is an XRP maxi. Just to get it clear, right? Because the builders and your user want to know that you have that experience, right? Like XRP has made a lot of effort in closing that gap, as you say. So 100%. That knowledge base that you guys bring from that former collaboration or efforts, I think it's important for builders to measure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ripple, look, at the end of the day, Ripple, whether they haven't announced it or not, whether people realize it or not, Ripple's looking to build a 100% use case bank. They're getting all their licensing. They're acquiring companies that have licenses. This is what they've been doing for the past few years. And it makes sense and it's great. You can't have retail adoption without institutional adoption. You can't have mass adoption without retail coming in also. But people need to be aware of this type of technology, and they need to be able to be aware without getting a blockchain degree and spending 3 years going down rabbit holes and watching every YouTube video. Most people are not going to do this. The one thing everybody has in common in blockchain is this: we're all tenacious. We all got in, didn't know anything about it, and learned whatever we could progressively, whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is. That makes us all unique compared to the mass majority. The mass majority does not do the rabbit hole thing. They're not going to learn. They say, show me, tell me, why can't I just do this? These are their catchphrases. So we have to be able to cater to them if we want mass adoption to happen. So this is our part, is saying we're taking the financial aspect, because we all have financial backgrounds and business backgrounds. So we said we were going to go this route. Same could be done for the medical field. Same could be done for the supply chain. There's a lot of things that could be done. But no one's really built something yet, at least in my opinion, that is completely dummy-proof to be able to take advantage of blockchain. So we're doing that, and we're going to take advantage of any chain and as many chains as possible, as long as it makes sense. If it makes sense, we're going to integrate it. If it doesn't, then we don't care.
Yeah. I love it. Yes, yeah. Choose your battles. Choose your battles.
Absolutely. You can't be everywhere all at once. That's like the best way to put it. And I wanted to basically get Aaron's views on, like, I know, so it's a different type of I think answer I'm gonna get from you, because you guys have been chain agnostic, but I think you guys started or like built more audience on Solana at the start. I might be wrong, correct me on that. So I wanted to get your views on the building aspect within Solana, like during the last couple of years. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think look, it's a really good question, and I hope that there's developers on this call that can kind of like use our experience to help them guide their decisions on where to build and how to build. But I really think it comes down to what vertical and what problem you're trying to solve, and really like what you're trying to achieve. Because for us, tackling something as large and scary as private transactions, like I made the point earlier about how some people want to have Bitcoin privacy, some people want to have Tron privacy, some people want to have SVM, EVM, UTXO, other UTXO privacy. Like we needed to be an aggregator, and believe me, guys, there was a point in time where AVAX approached us and other chains approached us, and they're like, be the privacy layer for AVAX, and we will give you this, this, and this. And we had to sit there and we were like, oh, damn, like, this is a lot of money on the table and they're going to fully back us. But, like, imagine we did that, right? We would be missing out on all of the Bitcoin transaction volume that goes through. We would miss the entire Solana wave. So I'm happy. Like, that was such a pivotal point in our journey where we made the decision to be fully chain agnostic. And yes, like, we are a Solana project right now, like, to the outside viewer, but that's just because Solana is the winning chain, right? And that's just where the volumes are going. Imagine you were a currency exchange at an airport and you only offered like CAD, yen, and euro. You'd be like, what? Like, that just makes no sense at all, right?
Only in the bathroom and only.
Yeah, and now somebody has to go to a different currency exchange and capture and get their business. So that's one point of the thing. The other thing, like the bull case to be a developer builder on Solana is that they do welcome you in, right? And they almost give you like a starter kit, whether it's APIs, whether it's introductions, whether it's financial resources. We have struggled with that because the Solana Foundation and other foundations will look at us and say, like, you haven't really like signed your allegiance to Solana, right? Like, you don't have smart contracts deployed on our network, right? And so we've kind of been we're kind of like that guy who's like, we're like the United Nations. We just support everyone, but we're not, like, we couldn't tell you the best restaurant in New York City, right? Like, because we're not like maxis of a specific place or jurisdiction, and nor do we want to be. But maybe if we were like trying to build a restaurant, we would tie ourselves to New York City and just like forget about the rest of the world, because that makes the most sense for our business. So I just think these decisions are so important, and it really just depends on what you're trying to build, and really just think about how the user is going to interact with your product. If they can't toggle for Bitcoin, they can't use Tron. If you like, good luck getting Singapore users, right? Like, that is the most widely accepted asset, not like outside of North America, right? Is USDT on Tron. So you're basically saying, like, waving goodbye to all of those users. So think about the user. Don't think so much about like potentially what you're going to get from Solana, because that's like a short term, that's a short term win that they'll probably give you, whether it's social amplification or all these things. I would think more long term about how the user is going to leverage your product, and if you're shutting them out by not offering specific chains or assets or wallets, you're just screwing them over, and they're going to go elsewhere and put their volume with another platform. So yeah, that's my case for multi-chain. And then like my case for Solana is all the things I mentioned. If you are a protocol and you do sign your allegiance to them, and you do kind of have like chain and vendor lock-in with Solana, it's like they will lean into you and will give you the support, but it's just, you're betting that Solana is going to be the chain of the future, which might, like, we can't all sit here and say with 100% confidence that that's true. But so yeah, I'm just trying to keep it as credibly neutral as possible. I know this is probably a pretty big Solana crowd, so I don't mean to ruffle any feathers, but I'm just trying to keep
there's
it
no
straight.
Solana crowd here.
No, this is a builders crowd. This is a builders crowd.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which chain you are. Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to that very briefly, because Aaron, I think you said that very well. I think every builder should just stop geeking out for a second when they're thinking about building anything and which chain they want to build on, and just only think about the user experience. Imagine the user, what it is you want them to be able to do, and then reverse engineer it and say,
yes,
these are the places where I need to go, because too many builders are building for themselves. They envision their idea, they envision the project, and then they're like, oh, look, it's really easy. You just have to do this. Let me explain it to you. And then I'm like the sales guy, marketing guy, entrepreneur that says, the second you tell anybody, let me explain it to you, you lost them.
Yep.
Exactly.
Facts.
So I wanted to give basically last one round statements, and I wanted to be So what advice or I don't know what thought, it can be anything, can be a one-liner, it can be just one sentence, but that you guys can give it to builders specifically, or anyone that's listening this stream. It can be a life advice, it can be anything, but basically a closing statement, and then at the end I will do mine. So the floor is just gonna start with Aaron first. What are you gonna leave it to the history books right now?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough one. You're putting me on the spot. I would just say, it's nothing novel, but I would just say, like, like solve real problems for people, right? And you will have product market fit. You will have distribution. I think our cumulative marketing spend over the past 4 years has been less than $20,000, just because we solved a problem that exists in crypto, which is privacy, right? And so it doesn't, all these things that we're talking about, multi-chain and who's going to support who and signing your allegiance to AVAX or Solana, like none of that shit really matters if you're solving for real problems that people have, and users will find you and they'll swear by your product. They'll be loyalists, they'll be hobbyists, and you'll just earn that respect. The other thing that I'll say is, like, we have this, we have this internal, when we're doing our sprints and when we're doing our product roadmaps, there's often this tendency to just like want to build a million things. And I think, like, one of the best things you can do as a founder or an entrepreneur is really, like, anybody can put a 50 ideas on a board. I think where the expertise and where, like, the true power is dwindling those down and narrowing those down to, like, your top 2 to 3 highest conviction builds and bets. And when you're building products, so much of it is like, we need limit orders and we need DCA and we need, perps and we need predict and we need yield and we need, and I really just, I think for a lot of people, stripping it away and just simplifying, like what problem you're trying to solve is actually what separates, like, the good from the great. And then the last thing that I'll say is, like, we have strong opinions on things. Our whole motto is, like, strong opinions loosely held, right? We do our research, we come into the calls, we do our diligence, and we're all very opinionated. We hate hive mentality, sheep mentality. There's no point in having a call with 10 people if you're all just going to circle jerk and, like, yeah, that's the best idea ever. Like, we want people to take the bear case. We want people to take the other side of the argument and say, this is absolutely going to fail. And somebody says, this is absolutely going to win. And you'll see the brilliance of those kind of calls. So it's strong opinions loosely held, right? It's like, I might be the biggest believer that, the world is flat, but I have to be at, any moment willing to accept that I am wrong and that the world is a sphere, it's round, right? And so that's, that's the brilliance. You don't want a bunch of, like, hype man around you that are like, oh yeah, like, that is, like, the coolest, sickest thing, like, pumping your tires. You want somebody to take the, like, no, nobody's going to use this. Stop wasting your time, stop wasting your money, and think about, take a different approach. I think those people, like, they're like, those people are so valuable, high leverage people.
Well said, man. Yeah. Go on, Peter. I mean, floor is yours. Last statements. You know the question.
Yeah.
What are you leaving us today?
So I think I'll take a little bit of a different approach. So first, I'll say just a couple of quick examples. I started up a web design company in 2009, and I approached a bunch of friends of mine that were in web design, that went to school, that, were amazing at coding. And I told them, I have an idea for making a SaaS business. We're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning, but in the end, we're going to be making reoccurring profits. They didn't listen to me. I took on a junior web developer. I made her a junior partner. I had a successful exit. I was technically the second largest web design company in Canada at the time, and I don't know how to write a stitch of code. I just knew how to sell. I knew how to understand what the clients wanted, what kind of service they wanted. That was the most invaluable thing. I walked into a collection agency. I was asked to manage it. I broke a 10-year record within the 5th month that I was there. And the reason why I'm saying all this stuff is not to boast. It's just to simply lay the table here, set the table for any builders out there. What you need to do, because my observation is most builders are introvert. What you need to do is you need to have coffees. You need to sit down with entrepreneurs and you need to ask them the questions of saying this. What are your daily problems? What do you wish? Give me 3 big problems you have that you wish you could eliminate. And then you use your programmer, developer, geek mind, right? And I say geek lovingly, right? I call our CTO a geek also. Then you could sit down and try and figure out what product and service. And then you could start thinking about the ultimate phrase, which is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what KISS stands for. Keep it simple, stupid. The average user of any technology or software wants simplicity. If you do not focus on simplicity and ease of use, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You could explain away days worth of information of why this complicated way is better, but that's not going to fly. It's an open market. We used to have 20 different types of cell phones. Now we only have iPhone and Samsung. They've consolidated the market. Why? They came out with the best product. End of story. There is no trying to figure it out. I don't need to open up my cell phone and rewire it so I can make an action. That's how people view blockchain today, is it's too complicated. So if you focus on a use case after speaking to everyday business people and everyday investors and everyday people that are just trying to use technology in any way they can to leverage a successful action, when they give you what their problems are, you need to be able to decipher that and say, well, this solution exists that they don't know about. I think I just got clipped out here.
No, you were here. We heard every word.
Okay, so that's basically it. I mean, you need to be able to provide a solution to everyday businesses that they don't know exists, and you need to be able to give it to them in the simplest way. Once you know that, you'll know where you need to build, you'll know what you need to build, and you'll know how to package it. That's my advice.
Mots, now the floor is yours.
No, I mean, Peter took basically what I had. That was in my note, the KISS, keep it simple and stupid. Like literally, I was going to come into that and I was going to basically do just a roundup remark of this meeting, right? I would say keep it simple and stupid, as Peter said. It's not about your ego. It's not about how you think is cool. This is for the builders. So listen to this, guys. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of money, a lot of time, and you're going to have a lot of investors and venture capitalists mad at you.
Absolutely.
It's not about you. It's about what the client wants. It's not that the client is always right. It's that you have to see yourself as a client. You have to go through the application, not as an expert, as a client. If you cannot have your kid iPad through your app and make a transaction, it's not ready yet.
You failed.
And adding a little bit to the Houdini part, 100%. Don't choose a chain. I've been here since 2010, which means I've seen everybody be a maxi. It's about the technology, and you have to deliver what your clients expect. So those are my takeaway from this call.
Excellent.
Well, I'm gonna drop mine, and then first of all, I want to thank everyone here that joined and gave their time to us here and to the beautiful builders that are listening to us. And honestly, I don't have like groundbreaking advice or anything, but I do have one advice for builders, which is you should go on Carbium's page and you should fill out our partnership form if you want to have access to free RPCs and more, because one of the biggest challenges is you have an idea, but you still have to pay for RPC and pay for stuff, and we want to give an opportunity to any new builders or existing ones that ability to try something, and if they don't like it, at least they didn't lose anything, and that can be a very good entry point. And I'm gonna leave it at there. Well, this is the end of Builders Lunch 102, and we're gonna be here next week 4 p.m. UTC, same as always, with beautiful guests again. And thanks for listening.
Have a good one, you all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.